Hey guys, welcome to Soma Vedic Astrology channel. Today we will explore the love story of Queen Ulupi and Arjuna from Mahabharat, and in the second part of this story we will understand how this story is linked to Ashlesha Nakshatra and Uttar Phalguni Nakshatra. But before that, before proceeding with this video, please do subscribe the channel to not miss any future updates. Now, this story is from Mahabharata where five Pandava brothers had married Draupadi. Now, the marriage part is another long story. We will see that in another video. But today we will stick to the story linked to Queen Ulupi. Now, since five brothers were married to Draupadi, a promise or a vow was established that while Draupadi will be spending time with one brother, the other four brothers cannot enter the palace during that time period to give Draupadi the required privacy. And if any of the brother breaks the rule, then they would have to live in the forest in exile for 12 years, passing his day as a celibate. One fine day, some thieves stole cattle of a Brahmin, and this Brahmin went to Arjun and asked Arjun to help him out to find his lost cattle. Arjuna was ready to help the Brahmin, but he had forgotten his Gandiva, which is the bow and arrow weapon, inside Draupadi's room, and he needed the weapon to get hold of the thieves, so he had to return to the palace to get his bow and arrow. Draupadi was already with one of the brothers, which is Yudhishthira, inside the room, and they were chatting sitting inside the room. Arjuna entered their room unannounced to take the weapon so that he can help the Brahmin, but in this process, he broke the promise of not entering the room when one of the other brothers is there with Draupadi. The punishment for the broken promise was exile and a period of celibacy for 12 years. So Arjuna now had to go to an exile into the forest, leaving the comforts and the luxuries of a palace. He had to do penance in the form of an exile for the broken promise, even if his intentions were not bad. Arjuna left the palace and set out to travel in the forest towards the northeast side of India. Now, meanwhile, there is another parallel story going on where there was an underwater serpent kingdom of Nagaloka, and King Kauravya ruled this Nagalok or the water kingdom. King Kauravya had a daughter called Princess Ulupi. She was the Naga princess or the serpent princess, namely half human and half serpent in physicality, and she belonged to a royal serpent lineage. Princess Ulupi had a seductive, mystical appearance to her, and her natural seductive appeal attracted many suitors to her, with almost no efforts needed from her side to attract anyone. Since her childhood, she was given extensive and rigorous training to be an expert warrior. Right from childhood, she was studying everything about warfare, techniques needed to succeed in the battlefield. Ulupi was once married and her husband was killed by Garuda or eagle. While her husband did not survive the wrath of Garuda, she was lucky enough to survive. She had become a young widow and she returned to her father's palace after the demise of her husband. She was depressed and sad with the tragic incident. Now she was young and all alone. She was the young widow princess. Nothing excited her in life. Now she was so hopeless, and she was someone who had no excitement remaining in her life and wondered whether she would be loved again by anyone. King Kauravya, father of Princess Ulupi, made arrangement for Princess Ulupi to meet with many serpent Naga prince suitors so that she can proceed in life, but none of them were able to capture Princess Ulupi's heart. She resisted any advances made by any of those Naga princes. She was getting bored with the lonely life, so she used to come out to the human world near the banks of river Ganga from inside of the ocean to get a change of environment. And she was naturally curious of how humans lived, as she was not complete human herself but majorly a serpent princess. She was interested to see the world around and hence used to come from inside of the ocean to the banks of river Ganga. Now, meanwhile, Arjuna was still wandering into the dense forest and was into exile. He initially roamed around without any specific goal in mind, and then later he reached the bank of sacred river Ganga. He decided to settle there for a few days in the nearby ashram or hermitage near to the banks of river Ganga. He decided to get fresh, quench his thirst, because now that he has got to live near a water body. So daily he used to go take a holy dip into the river Ganga, clean himself, purify himself by that sacred holy dip. Princess Ulupi had come out of the ocean once again to explore the human world, and she saw Arjuna bathing in the river Ganga and got infatuated and mesmerized looking at him. She wondered who this handsome man was and what he was doing here on the banks of river Ganga. She observed him for a few days. While Princess Ulupi started liking Arjuna, she really did not know who the man was. So she made arrangements of doing background research of the man she fell for. She sent some of her spies to research past of the man she loves. Meanwhile, she continued observing him on the banks of river Ganga. The spies returned one day to Princess Ulupi and mentioned the royal background of Arjuna and that he was the third brother of Pandava brothers. He has the wife Draupadi, which was shared among five brothers, and that he is a renowned archer, almost an undefeatable archer, and his archery skills is famous worldwide. Now, Princess Ulupi knew that Arjuna was no ordinary man. One day, Arjuna decided to give offerings to the ancestors near the banks of river Ganga, and he decided to perform fire rituals for the same reason. Before performing the fire ritual, one has to become very pure and clean by taking a bath, and hence Arjuna entered river Ganga to take a holy dip and to cleanse himself before the fire ritual. As soon as he entered the river, Princess Ulupi rose from the river Ganga, transformed herself into a snake, coiled herself on the Arjuna, made a noose and abducted him and dragged him with her in the Nagaloka, the land of serpents. Arjuna had no idea of all these things which was happening in the background, and now that he is getting dragged into Nagaloka, he was completely clueless. He was just going about his duty till now. Arjuna was lying unconscious in the palace of Nagaloka. After some time, he came to senses and wondered where he was and how did he reach here as he was just bathing in Ganga River. Arjuna sees a beautiful woman standing in the corner and questions her about this unknown place. She mentions that Arjuna has been brought into Nagaloka. Arjuna asks her, "Who are you?" Princess Ulupi replies, "She is Bhujagendra Kanyaka," which means Bhujagendra means serpent king and Kanyaka means girl. So she is the daughter of the king of the serpents, and he has been brought to a royal palace in the underwater kingdom of serpents ruled by her kingly father. Arjuna was confused as none of it made sense to him. He asked, "Why am I even here?" Princess Ulupi replies that she brought him to Nagaloka and she had best intentions in mind, and that she is single and she likes him and wants to get married to him. She basically shared her honest feelings for Arjuna. Princess Ulupi had such a seductive look that even Arjuna was attracted to her. But Arjuna replied to Princess Ulupi that while he is attracted to her, he had broken a vow with Draupadi, which is how he ended up near the banks of river Ganga, and he had to take a vow of celibacy, so he cannot fulfill any wish of union with Princess Ulupi. Princess Ulupi had already researched his past, and she knew any everything about him already, even of the broken vow related celibacy thing. She was already aware of it. She was sharp, had excellent intellectual capacity, so she replied to Arjuna, "The vow of celibacy applies only to your first wife Draupadi, and that you are in exile to stay away from Draupadi, and you can definitely fulfill that vow. I am not coming in between that vow, but that vow of celibacy doesn't apply to me." She was so much in love that she further stated that, "I am young, lonely, and if you don't marry me, then I will sacrifice my own life." Arjuna was shocked, confused, but he somehow got convinced with her strong, debatable arguments, and Arjuna agreed to be with Ulupi for a night. Princess Ulupi goes to her father with Arjuna and mentions to her father that she is in love with him. King Kavravya doesn't know who Arjuna was at that time. He was shocked looking at Princess Ulupi's choice of partner, as Princess Ulupi belonged to a royal serpent lineage, and the man she chose was just a mortal human in the eyes of King Kavravya. He replied to them that a human and a snake combination is rather unusual. Princess Ulupi was adamant and was not ready to back down. King Kauravya researched and got to know about Arjuna's background, and that he is no ordinary man but a royal prince, son of Indradev, a renowned archer, and belongs to the royal lineage of Pandavas. Upon seeing his royal lineage, King Kauravya agrees. This was more like a Gandharva Viva or a love marriage. They spent a night together. Princess Ulupi later taught many warfare secrets to Arjuna. She also taught the art of conquering five elements, which proves an important lesson for Arjuna in the Kurukshetra War. Now, time had come for Arjuna to leave Nagaloka. Princess Ulupi was head over heels, but she realized that she cannot keep a person with her forever, as destiny have different plans. So she made preparations for Arjuna to return to his exile. Meanwhile, Princess Ulupi was also pregnant, so she got another reason for living. Princess Ulupi granted boon to Arjuna while he was living the Nagaloka, that he will be invincible in water and no water animal or aquatic creatures can defeat him. This boon also becomes important for Arjuna in the Kurukshetra War, where he becomes undefeatable in watery terrains. After Arjuna left, Princess Ulupi gave birth to Iravan or Iravath, which is translated to King of the Ocean. Ulupi did not continue with Arjuna on the exile. She stayed back in the Nagaloka to raise Iravan. She took great care of the child and raised him dearly. One day Iravan gets to know what that his father is in heaven. Iravan had heard a lot about his father, his work, and the skills of archery was almost world famous at that time. He wanted to meet such a successful figure who was also his father. Arjuna went to heaven to get the Divya Astras, which means divine weapons needed for the Kurukshetra war. Iravan followed Arjuna to the heaven to meet him, and he said to Arjuna that he was Iravan, the son of Queen Ulupi. Arjuna was delighted to see his son. They spent some time together, had some father-son bonding, and the Arjuna requested him to take part in the Kurukshetra war. Iravan agreed to help his father in the war. Ulupi did not deny Iravan from participating in the war, as Ulupi already knew the fate of Iravan and its connection to the war. Now, fast forwarding to the Kurukshetra war, Iravan came with soldiers, horsemen in the battlefield. He was giving tough fight to the opponents in the war. Iravan was attacked by arrows at many places by the opponents. Whenever Iravan was getting endangered in the war, a celestial and mystical serpent from his mother Queen Ulupi's lineage came to protect Iravan. Lord Anantanaga and many serpent army came to protect Iravan and to attack the opponents. The opponents converted themselves into Garuda or eagle to scare all the serpents away. During this same time, the Rakshasa demon named Alambusha cuts off the head of Iravan, and the son of Arjuna lost his life. Iravan died on the eighth day of the Kurukshetra war while putting up a brave fight. Rakshasa Alambusha was later killed by Ghatotkacha, cousin of Iravan, and this is how their revenge of death of Iravan was successful. This story doesn't end here. We'll see the later part in the subsequent video, but let us understand the themes from the story till now related to Uttara Phalguni and Ashlesha Nakshatra. Let us first start with the Uttar Phalguni Nakshatra. Now, Arjuna is generally linked to Phalguni Nakshatras, specifically Uttar Phalguni Nakshatra. Uttar Phalguni has themes of union, marital union, taking promises, taking vows, and maintaining those vows. Promises and vows not only of marriage, but in general, it represents that even if you are casually promising something, you have to uphold it. Arjuna mistakenly broke the promise, especially the promise related to marriage. So, affliction to Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra shows themes of broken vows, divorce, separation from the spouse. The last three padas of Uttar Phalguni Nakshatra falls in the Virgo zodiac sign. Virgo zodiac sign represents the natural sixth house in the Kal Purush Kundali. Seventh house in Kalpurush Kundali is the house of marriage. Sixth house is 12 places away from the seventh house of marriage. 12 places away shows areas where one will get lost. So, which is why the loss of marriage is also seen from the sixth house. It doesn't mean literal loss, it could mean that, but definitely afflictions to this might mean broken vows, broken promises, living in exile or temporary separation from spouse physically or mentally. If you have a prominent planet in Uttar Phalguni Nakshatra and if you make any kind of promises related to that planet, it is very important for you to fulfill the promise, because if the promise is not fulfilled, then the luxury and the comforts will be stripped away from you related to that specific planet and lord, and you might have your own version of exile playing out in your life. There will be an instant penance or paying a penalty or paying a fine kind of a situation coming as a consequence of broken promises, broken contracts, or broken legal agreements. Planets sitting in the natural sixth house of Kalpurush Kundali in the Uttar Phalguni Nakshatra will give seventh aspect to the 12th house of foreign and unknown lands. This also can be seen playing out in the story where Arjuna gets to travel or to go to exile as a consequence of the broken vow. In this time and age, when we glorify 12th house of going to foreign lands, as everyone nowadays wants to go to a foreign land, but in those days 12th house was seen kind of as a punishment of going to an exile. So depending on the chart, possibility of making contracts and agreements and then moving to foreign land for some period of time can also be seen as a theme in this day and age connected to Uttara Falguni Nakshatra, and this will happen especially only when this Dasha period gets activated. Themes of temporary relocation to place near a river or a water body is also a possibility which can be seen from Uttara Falguni Nakshatra. The love story of Arjuna and Queen Ulupi panned out in the banks of the river Ganga. So, themes of river bringing two lovers together is also a theme that can be seen from this story. Arjuna agrees to marry the serpent princess. He does not think that he is a human, she is a serpent. He goes past all these filters. So, this shows that Uttara Falguni person does not have a foundation that they need someone from the same caste, religion. They are able to see past it. Arjuna also learned many warfare secrets from Princess Ulupi. So this also kind of hints to a modern marriage scenario where a Uttara Falguni husband is not ashamed to learn certain skills which the wife is master of. Princess Ulupi also gave boon to Arjuna about being invincible in water. First of all, please understand, getting a boon from Ashlesha is the most difficult task. Curses come easily though. If Ashlesha has been hurt to an extreme level, we all know curses will come easily and nobody likes to have serpent curses, right? Uttara Falguni person here is already victorious because it got boon from an Ashlesha person, which is almost like an impossible task to achieve. Uttara Falguni's first pada also lies in the Leo zodiac sign in the fifth house in the natural Kalpurush Kundali chart, which is linked to past life blessings, good luck, good fortune, and getting boons due to work done in the past life. So, this is how Uttara Falguni, fifth house, boons, luck is interrelated. Iravan and Arjuna both had a different path in life and were living separately for most part of their life. So fifth lord connection to Uttara Falguni Nakshatra might show possibility of living separately from kids. It could be for work purposes or due to divorce or due to relocation into another country. For the exact reason, the entire chart needs to be seen, and this will happen only when the dasha gets activated. Iravan was also a bright child and inherited all the strength, valor, war skills from his father. So, fifth lord connection to Uttara Falguni Nakshatra might also show illustrious kid with great talents. Iravan agrees to help his father Arjuna in the war. Uttara Falguni kind of shows themes of receiving help from one's own child, even if father was not able to be present in the formative years of the child. Now let us see some themes connected to Ashlesha Nakshatra derived from this story. Now, Princess Ulupi, the serpent princess, is linked to Ashlesha Nakshatra. Ulupi received all the required training of warfare. She was an expert warrior. This kind of shows an image of a modern feminist woman because during that time it was less heard of a woman getting trained into warfare related skills. So, this represents Ashlesha woman as someone who is very modern, open, open minded, and futuristic, considering the time, that olden time. A woman is expert in domain which many women don't participate into during that time. She is someone who gets aware of the politics needed to succeed in work or in life in general. So a benefic placement in Ashlesha will give you all sort of right training needed for you right since childhood. You will also get parents in a way who will push you forward to get the adequate trainings and education needed for you to succeed in life. Ulupi in some texts is vilified because, I mean, look at the character from the lens of old time. She was very modern considering the old time, wasn't she? Firstly, she was so shown as someone who was very seductive. So Ashlesha person has a natural seductive charm. They are able to attract people with almost no efforts. Sometimes Ashlesha person themselves are ignorant on how much people are attracted to them. So if seventh lord of spouse is in Ashlesha, this will apply to your spouse. If fifth lord of lover is in Ashlesha, this might apply to your short term relationships. Despite getting many suitors, she clinged on to the one person she likes very much. She could have gotten any royal Naga prince, but she clinged on to her choice of Arjuna. So themes of clinging is linked to Ashlesha Nakshatra, and it also shows that once you are able to win the heart of an Ashlesha person, the Ashlesha will be fully devoted to you in good and bad times. But the challenge here is winning the heart of an Ashlesha person. That can take some considerable amount of time and efforts, as Ashlesha by default does not trust anyone in life. Before meeting Arjuna, Ulupi had a tragic past. She became a widow quite early in life and had to deal with grief, sadness, loneliness, breakup due to it. So, Ashlesha Nakshatra, if connected to fifth or seventh house or fifth or seventh lord, represents some kind of toxic past memories, and if in affliction, then those memories almost haunt you for life. These themes can also be applied in whichever house your Ashlesha Nakshatra is there, and the planets and the lords sitting in Ashlesha Nakshatra. Themes of tragic past, toxic memories, past haunting you, unable to forget the bad done to you are the themes of Ashlesha Nakshatra. Ulupi explored the human world quite often. So this shows the themes of coming out of the comfort zone, especially after a tragic event is linked to Ashlesha Nakshatra. Ashlesha Nakshatra falls in the Cancer zodiac sign. Cancer zodiac sign shows everything about comfort zone, living in the comfort zone, doing things to build a comfort zone for oneself. But the real progress happens in life when you come out of the comfort zone. It is difficult for nakshatra placed in Cancer zodiac sign to come out of comfort zone. Ashlesha person's progress will happen only after the person comes out of the comfort zone, and Ashlesha will only come out of the comfort zone after going through a tragic, painful, toxic event related to the house lord, planets, etc. Cancer is the house of the masses, doing things for the public. Ulupi was sad and lonely when she was in the deep oceans, which means when she was living in private. But as soon as she rose from the oceans to the banks of the river Ganga, which means as soon as she becomes public, life altering events took place in her life. So life altering events will take place in an Ashlesha person's life once he or she chooses to be public. Ulupi coming out to explore the human world also shows an inherent curious attitude in an Ashlesha person, where they want to study subjects that they are really interested in. Now, when Ulupi fell in love with Arjuna, she did not immediately go to him and propose him. She did an extensive research about his past, understood the type of person he is before approaching the guy. That does not mean that she loved him because of the findings she got from her research. The past history research did not change her opinion on love for him at all. She was already in love before even digging his past. So, this shows the themes of an Ashlesha person's interest to know about the potential partner inside out, especially understanding the potential partner from psychological level, spying on the partner, stalking the partner, generally from a good intention to completely understand the person, especially if it is non-afflicted. Ashlesha person do not make hasty decisions. They wait it out, do their own research, wait for the time to strike when the iron is hot. Meanwhile, Arjuna was completely unaware that his past is being digged into. So it kind of shows the clean work of Ashlesha person, where people don't even know that this Ashlesha person has already prepared, researched about the potential partner. An Ashlesha person will observe for some time before approaching their love interest. When Ulupi caught the right moment, she almost coiled herself in the form of a snake around Arjuna and kidnapped him to Nagaloka. It almost looked like Arjuna got no choice. Ashlesha person made the decision and it was the final one, and she acted on it without even giving a chance to the other person, at least in the initial time period when she was almost mesmerized with the partner. So, themes of abduction, kidnapping, a hostage like situation, getting entangled by a snake bite, getting entangled by a rope, creating a noose, especially if there is affliction. All these themes can be seen from Ashlesha Nakshatra and hence from Cancer zodiac sign. Ulupi did not confess love on the banks of near to the banks of the river Ganga. She took him to the Nagaloka. Now, do you wonder where orders of Princess Ulupi will have more value? Will it be on the banks of river Ganga or will it be in Nagaloka? Ulupi was so smart, she controlled where the love confession need to be made so that she can get the outcome that she desired. No one can go against the order of the princess in her own kingdom. Arjuna was merely a prisoner in the Naga kingdom. Arjuna's choices got limited anyways due to this smart move made by Ulupi. So this shows Ashlesha's themes of planning, plotting to get what it wants, using deception, scheming and plotting, trying to control the situation to the maximum amount possible to get the outcome that an Ashlesha person desires. Themes of surrounding the victim from all possible sides and not giving even one path to escape so that the victim is bound to agree on to the demands of Ashlesha is also a very prominent theme. Ulupi's confessing love to Arjuna during that time, is kind of something which is unheard of, right? It kind of gives a modern woman archetype where a woman is confessing love to a man. It is something which is totally uncommon at that time. So, Ashlesha woman is kind of a modern woman who will not be afraid to initiate and confess love, but that will be limited only and only if you manage to win her heart, otherwise, she does not care about you. Arjuna, while being on the celibacy vow, was attracted to the seductive Ulupi. Arjuna initially rejects the advances of Ulupi, stating the vow of celibacy, but Ulupi was so excellent in twisting of the words, redefining what dharma means, redefining what the real truth is, that she manages to convince Arjuna. So, Ashlesha Nakshatra's Vimshotri Lord is Mercury, the planet of doing tricks, communicating, magic. Here it is kind of shows the ability of Ashlesha to twist and turn the words to bring best from the loopholes of the vows or from the legal contracts and to modify it for his or her own favor. She was also able to convince Arjuna due to her strong argumentative abilities and communication skills, which also relates to Mercury, the Vimshottari lord of Ashlesha Nakshatra. Ashlesha is a Dharma Nakshatra, which means where you have to do things in a righteous way without thinking whether you will benefit from a given situation or not. So, afflictions to Ashlesha might show modifying the definition of dharma to suit one's own purposes. Now, Ulupi made plan A as well as plan B. She literally made a plan B that if Arjuna doesn't get convinced with her twisted vow theory, then she almost threatened him that she will take her own life because she inherently knew that Arjuna would never let a woman die, that too for love, never. So, Aslesha Nakshatra usually have contingency plans prepared in whichever house your Aslesha is. Making plan A, plan B to get what it wants is a theme of Aslesha. Now, Ulupi was a widow and Arjuna was already married before meeting Ulupi. So, themes of widow marriage is also something which we can see from Aslesha Nakshatra. But again, widow marriage is something which was very modern, unusual, uncommon at that time. Themes of widow marriage, especially with already married or separated person, is a theme that can be seen from this placement if it is linked to 7th house, 7th lord. Now, it does not mean that it will happen with everyone. Full chart needs to be seen, of course. We are merely discussing various themes that we can derive from the story and link it to Aslesha Nakshatra. The next thing that we can see is that Ulupi was a Naga princess and Arjuna was a human. So, themes of intercaste marriages, interreligion marriages, marriage to a foreigner, or marriage to completely outcast person could be possible in certain cases, and this chances gets very high if the outcast planets like Rahu Ketu gets involved. Themes of Gandharva Viva love marriage is also possible. Princess Ulupi taught many warfare secrets to Arjuna. First of all, an Aslesha person giving out secrets is only a very big deal. They will never ever do that unless they love and trust the person completely. Gaining trust of an Aslesha person is the most difficult task, but once it is gained, rest assured the person who is in the good books of an Aslesha person is bound to be a winner in all costs. An Aslesha person is the best supporting role person one can ever have, given the energies are working in an higher plane. Princess Ulupi did not cling on to Arjuna, and she did not stop him from leaving Nagaloka when the time came. So, this is where Aslesha energy is working in its highest form, where the person is not getting clinged to the lover but is letting go of the lover and letting go of what it loves the most. Their interaction was very small in duration, but sometimes it is the depth of the relationship that counts more than the length of the relationship. Sometimes relationship with a short span gives a more long lasting impact on a person. Princess Ulupi also gave a boon to Arjuna about being invincible in water, which later becomes useful to Arjuna in Kurukshetra War. This shows that a Aslesha person has a strong intuition and penetrating insight on what could possibly happen in future, and the person has already started their actions well in advance, but the others are unaware of the gravity of their actions of Ashlesha person's actions at that time, but in future these people understand as to why an Ashlesha person made such an action in the past. So Ulupi could have given any boon to Arjuna, but she gave a very specific boon where she thought Arjuna's chances might become weaker in war. Ashlesha person knows psychologically in depth about the other person, so she, in during the short time that they spent together, she already knew weaknesses of Arjuna, and to overcome those weaknesses or to make that weakness as a strength, she gave the specific boon to Arjuna to be invincible in water. So the level of smartness and the intellectual capacity of Ashlesha is working on higher levels. Now, Queen Ulupi took care of the child Iravan single handedly. This shows the nurturing and the motherly side of Ashlesha Nakshatra being part of the Cancer zodiac sign. Themes of being a single parent can also be linked to Ashlesha Nakshatra. Of course, it is not going to happen with everyone. The entire chart needs to be seen. Queen Ulupi also had future insights of what will happen to Iravan if he participates in the war, but she does not try to control his son, as her son willfully wanted to participate in the war for his father. Ashlesha Nakshatra is a Dharma Nakshatra. Doing things right is utmost important when it comes to Ashlesha. Even after Ulupi knowing the future, she doesn't try to modify or change the future. She was well aware that her son needed to go through what is there written in his destiny to complete his pending debt of karmas. Here, Ashlesha Nakshatra energy started working on the highest plane possible. But she was also a mother, right? She was a mother to a son, which is why whenever Iravan was getting attacked heavily in the Kurukshetra war, she was the one who ordered Lord Anantanaga and the Serpent army to fight and to protect his son in the battlefield. So this shows Queen Ulupi was fighting the war even after not being present on the battlefield. And Ashlesha person's battle tactics is rather hidden, being worked upon in the behind the scenes, and people are not even aware that these tactics are being played into. Ashlesha is making invisible moves without others even knowing about it, and Ashlesha is trying to fight tooth and nail and doing every possible move available in the books or out of the books to save the person that she loves the most, that total the last moment. I hope you guys like the video. It takes immense efforts to put out such videos. Please like and subscribe the channel to not miss any future updates. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.